Hey everybody, welcome to What the Hell of a Way to Die. This is either going to be a bonus or maybe it's going to be a regular. I don't know. We are leaving that up to the producers to discern, depending on what we have and haven't recorded. Look, Nate has been traveling. I'm traveling. I traveled for work. I'm traveling for work again. It's going to be kind of chaotic and all over the place. So if you don't like it, I don't know. There's other military leftist podcasts out there. I'm sure.
No, there's not.
No, sorry, you're stuck with us. I have the Zoo Crew here. I have Joe and Carrie here on a Thursday. Day for me and Carrie, night for Joe, which means Joe is the only one who, if he is inebriated, is the only one who's doing it.
As is a Thursday,
as always,
I am sober. I have grown up. I can no longer get trashed on most weekdays and continue to function the next day. I turn 35 next month.
Literally, you were doing that like 2 months ago, but
not all the time.
We do love to see your growth, even if it is.
Like I have quit drinking, and I've taken up copious crocodile usage.
Joe is
my doctors love it.
Joe is following Jack's path and has just started taking like microdosing ayahuasca. So he just kind of like vomits in the corner about every 5 minutes, but he does have like fantastic visions of podcasts yet to come.
So what is the what's the big drug in Armenia? If you're like, man, like we joke about how big cocaine is in England. What's
we share a border with Iran, so heroin. But there isn't like a ton of drug usage here. Quite honestly, it's like it's kind of hard to explain without going into how society is much different. But like it's frowned. I mean, first of all, you think the U.S.'s like war on drugs policy for when it comes to incarceration is insane. Oh boy, you should see ours. And nobody wants to spend time in an Armenian prison. But it's also just like it's like very much like a family-based shame culture in a lot of ways. So it's like it's just not accepted for you to use drugs in any way. I mean, weed is pretty socially acceptable, I would say, and party drugs. But since I don't fuck around in like the club,
but you'll still go to jail for that.
Yeah, you'll go to fucking prison for weed. But I don't fuck around the club scene or anything like that because I'm an adult. So I don't really know the prevalency of club drugs here. I just know they exist because I hear people talk about them. But if I was to be truly, if I was to be truly culturally sensitive as someone who just got into Eurovision, I would have a crippling cocaine problem.
Yeah, so I had some plans to talk about some things, but I'm interested to hear you talk about Eurovision because this is something that is huge in Europe, but I am not European, and I don't really I don't care about these kinds of shows in general. Like I don't watch the American versions of them either. So what is it about Eurovision? What has sucked you in to listening to people from different countries sing on a stage and be judged by David Hasselhoff, I believe? Is that one of them?
No. I do not know where he came out of this, other than the fact he was popular in Germany before I was born. But
he's still popular in Germany. All right,
that is a meme that was dead before memes were a thing. So like I need to preface this with the music sucks. Quite honestly, like I mean, if you like Euro electric pop and like club music and shit, I'm sure there's songs in there you'll like. Overwhelmingly, I do not like the music. Some of them are good, sure. Not exactly my jam, as anybody who knows what kind of music I listen to would say. And there's some that I like. Even I can accept as like, oh, it's a good song. I mean, I would not listen to it again, but it's a good song, And sometimes there's just complete over the top fucking comedy acts, which are incredible. And like Croatia's entry this year.
So this is kind of an America's
No,
Got,
it's like Eurovision because it's older than all of
America's
those
Got
things.
Talent kind of thing.
How long has Eurovision been
It's been going
on?
on since the 50s.
Oh, really? Jesus.
It's been going on since like the mid 50s.
I am an American. Can you explain this to me?
A
Explain it to me like it's a cheeseburger. I'm an American.
guy who has only seen America's Got Talent. I'm getting a lot of America's Got Talent vibes from this.
I've not even watched America's Got Talent, so I don't know. It's just a thing where like where people like it's you can sing or you can do a comedy act, and somehow
it's not
we're
like
going to compare
it's not
these
like
two
you're going to
things
go out there and juggle.
Do you remember when like William Hung or whatever his name like was on was like like that's I think that's kind of what
he became popular because he was fucking terrible.
But that's what I mean by like
everybody
that
that goes like in.
You know what I mean? Like he was popular because he was terrible, not because he was.
William Hung did not intentionally start off as a comedy act. He became a comedy act because we all liked laughing at someone's misfortune in the United States. But there's one famous incident in Eurovision where someone was nominated as like a joke, as like a protest, and Ireland did it. So generally how it works is every country that are not necessarily European, because for instance, like Israel and Australia fucking competes. I don't ask me why. Politics and money. Like Eurovision is like a massive pit of money, geopolitics, and sometimes corruption. Like famously, Francisco Franco of Spain bribed the Eurovision's way into having the Spanish entry win while he was dictator of Spain. Generally speaking, how it works is most countries.
Hey man, are you really a dictator if you can't like force Eurovision to make yourself like?
Let's go ahead and see what
obviously
Francis. There's no way a dictator would do that. Anyway, let's go look at the year that Azerbaijan won.
Look, I'm just saying, using his dictatorship to its full potential to win European singing contests.
It's all soft power shit. Like the politics that go behind it are very interesting. Like dictatorships and not necessarily dictatorships, but very right wing countries as well, who are very big on soft power, pour a ton of fucking money into it, and you can tell. But normally how it works is every country that is involved has like an internal competition to pick who's going to represent them in Eurovision. Armenia doesn't have one for some reason. The national broadcaster just selects someone. And then they go on tour. We definitely have a delay.
Yeah, does Armenia field somebody, or does Armenia not even? Was like, no, we're not part of.
Oh, it's huge here. Yeah, it's they put someone in every year. I believe since like the mid 2000s is when they were considered European enough to compete.
Congratulations on being promoted to white enough there, Joe.
We done told you were white, Joe.
Look at me now, I'm on top of the world.
Georgia and Azerbaijan also compete, so like the entire Caucasus region does, which is strange. Which is always very funny. Like for instance. The first day of the semifinals, because there's 2 days of semifinals, like 15 people compete and 10 will move on to the finals. And the first night, which was this week, the second night is tonight, our time, because it's taking place in the UK. Because whoever wins the next year, Eurovision is hosted in their country. But last year, Ukraine won. So it's being hosted in the UK this year.
Is this the one where like didn't like Johnny Rotten or something like try to like appear on behalf of Ireland for this round or something like that? I feel like vaguely like I remember. No, all right. I like maybe it was I don't know. It was last year.
Maybe he competed at some point in the internal competition in Ireland. I have no idea. I do know the band that Ireland put out was fucking terrible.
Oh yeah,
you should be ashamed.
Oh no, I mean, I just think that maybe that's what it was. He was in the internal competition and he was trying to like represent Ireland for some reason.
Is he fucking Irish? Is Johnny Rotten Irish?
I don't think so. I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He's British.
Yeah, like I don't know, it was fucking weird. That was like because I'm pretty sure I remember Tom sending it to me and it just being like this like look at this fucking nerd. Which I don't know. I mean, like
yeah, maybe. I don't know. That guy, Jenna Rotten fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Tom here. Producer's correction. John Lydon is technically Irish. His parents are Irish, and they were immigrants from Ireland to the UK in the 50s. And by a technicality, because we've decided to give everyone Irish passports who was born in the UK, he can technically represent Ireland for Eurovision.
But there's always weird politics involved, and they're like you vote, like you watch, like you can vote as Americans as well. You have to go to the Eurovision website, but like we can vote from our phones here on the day that your country competes. So like Armenia competes tonight, so I wasn't able to vote during the last semis on earlier this week. But there's always a lot of weird politics involved as well. Like on the first semis, Azerbaijan's entry competed, which was, my biases aside, was just a shit band. Like it was like these weird twins, and the song sounded like if you went to a low stakes like indie show at a pub, they'd be the warm up act. But like, yeah, and like commentators, like we watch on our national broadcaster here in Armenia, they're like, they'll talk about like the artists and like, you know, where they come from and like with the inspiration for their song. Dead fucking silence during the entire time Azerbaijan's being performed or is performing here.
I'm surprised that it was surprised there wasn't just a bunch of shit talking. Honestly, like look at these motherfuckers.
It's the national broadcaster. They can't do stuff like that. But you know, then like, you know, in the first round, people vote for it, and then in the finals, there's like a popular vote and kind of like the Eurovision electoral college of the judge panels, where like countries can give points to other countries, and that's how you end up winning. But the same countries always vote for the same other countries every time, because like, you know, obviously, you know, things have changed recently. With like Russia invading Ukraine and geopolitics getting like thrown out the window through Eastern Europe. But like every year Russia would vote for like Armenia would vote for Russia, Belarus would vote for Russia, like the Baltic states would vote for Russia, because you can't vote for yourself, right? So, and like Georgia would vote for Armenia, shit like that, or Greece would vote for Armenia. Like the Balkan countries would all vote for one another, stuff like that. So there's like, it's not about talent in any stretch of the imagination.
Does Russia also vote for Azerbaijan and Georgia and stuff like that?
What's that?
Like, how does? Well, does Russia when they're getting, you know, you say they vote for Armenia, are they also voting for Azerbaijan and Georgia and all those when they're?
Well, it depends on who's in the finals. Like very rarely are all three or all four of those countries ended up in the finals. Like for instance, Azerbaijan was already eliminated. Russia's not even in it this year. So like, you know, if Armenia makes the finals, which we'll find out today, it will probably get points from France.
Armenia kind of standing alone on that one, huh? You gotta lean on the Armenian talents and general swarthiness of your contestants.
I mean, the song on there is good. She won't win. Armenia's never won. I think the highest Armenia's ever gotten is 4th place. Yeah, it's interesting though, and like I said, I don't give a fuck about the music. The music is generally not my taste, but it's very entertaining because every single performer that is on the stage, it's the biggest stage they will literally ever perform in. Even if they fill up stadiums and stuff, like there's millions of people watching them during a live performance. So like, you know, they could fuck it up, they could choke, like accidents happen, people rush the stage, like rarely, but it does happen. And the performances are very cool because people are like fucking going for it. Yeah, it's the pageantry, man. It's entertaining. Also, maybe I'm just getting old, but like
I need my bread in circuses.
Because like even if someone like fucking Beyonce was like made Eurovision, say she's like British or something now, it would be the biggest stage that she's ever performed on either, because it's like, you know, in America we think of like the Super Bowl being massive, which it is, but it's like, you know, in comparison, the World Cup is like so many different magnitudes larger because it's so much more popular than American football.
Yeah.
And like the same thing.
Yeah. Or even like, you know, even like the Olympics generally is, you know, everything just kind of stops for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just because it like, you know, just through sheer aggregation, you're going to end up with more eyeballs on you just because there's so many more like countries involved.
Yeah, I mean, like,
It's the same reason why what do you call it? The NBA keeps trying to expand over to China because they know that like if they can just uh, get people like watching NBA basketball over there, then they'll be able to just print money into the future until the world
and
explodes.
so far they have managed to put
Is that
formerly 2 teams in Canada, but now 1. Most people do,
So-
most people
so where
do not
does- where
remember
does
the Vancouver
Eurovision-
Grizzlies.
where does Eurovision stand now? Like, where are we in the finals, semifinals? Who's in? Who you picking? Who's your? Because again, I do not give a shit. So I need to lean on you for whatever's going on here.
I'd be like, if it wasn't for the competitive like nature of like voting and like getting eliminated, I wouldn't care about it either, honestly. But like, so we had 1 day of semifinals earlier this week. 5 nations were eliminated. None of them were a surprise. Because like 15 acts perform. 15 acts will perform tonight as well. 10 move on, and then those 20 plus the founding people of Eurovision, which is like I believe Germany, France, and the UK, automatically go to I think Spain as well. I don't remember, but they automatically go on to the finals, which are on Saturday, and then that is where they find an actual winner. But yeah, on the first night of semifinals, every country that like got eliminated was no surprise. I'm not sure how tonight's going to pan out. Armenia's competing tonight. I think she'll make the finals because again, only 5 out of 10 get eliminated, or sorry, 5 out of 15 get eliminated. So you have a very good chance of at least making the final. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And Eurovision is one of those things that's so popular that people will be watching like the videos of like the countries that are going to compete for like literally a month or more ahead of time. So like everybody already knows like, oh, this is a good song coming up because it's Portugal or it's Spain or whatever, or it's Greece. I have not watched any of them. So I have no idea what to expect until they hit the stage. But I will say every time like this performer comes on stage and they're like, they're from Serbia. I'm like, well, yeah, that guy is the most Serbian man I've ever seen in my life. It's like this, like some techno artist that performed at like the Berghain. Like, yeah, of course he did. Look at him. Like,
Yeah, he shows up in a full Adidas tracksuit and missing half of his skull and fucking blows the roof off of the place.
I mean, I meant more like a club guy that looks like he sweats ecstasy, but sure.
Well, good luck to Armenia. Big hopes, big ups for the good people of the Caucasus to bring it home, to win one for the team. Again, it's not American. America is not involved. If America was, we would win it. So, you're welcome to the rest of the world for not being involved, because we would just send Beyonce there and blow the place up. Actually,
well, the
I
thing
guess
it's like it's quite nice that like America isn't involved. One, it's Eurovision, but 2, because like American like artists, whatever, like so thoroughly penetrate every aspect of world culture. It's kind of nice that they can't do it here.
It is. I can understand that. Every time somebody says, America has no culture, and so like, no, America in about 100 years will be the only culture if you're not careful.
Well, that's always the funny thing to me about every time, like like France in particular has all like the weird ways it tries to like preserve its culture, just like to be defiant against all of its neighbors. Like I think like what is it, like 1/3 or something of like the songs on like French radio stations have to be like from France or something like that. And like they have like their an entire like ministry devoted to like accepting certain words into the French language and rejecting other ones to make sure that they keep like versus like Merriam-Webster dictionary being like like any fucking word that pops up, misspelling word that pops up on Twitter ends up like in the dictionary. Because
have they blocked anybody who unironically says "han han han" on Twitter yet?
I hope so.
It is like almost every European country has something that's like a ministry of culture that's stuff that they do, but like overwhelmingly they're all losing the battle. And like you can kind of see that in Eurovision because music that was tinged with like some aspect of like folk music, something very cultural from wherever they're being performed, used to be very, very prevalent. Now it's like so far pretty much just deleted. Like it all, like for a lot of the performers, you could pick them up and say like take the band from like I don't know, whoever's performing in like Armenia and put them somewhere else. And like not every, like most of the songs have English in them, or they're all entirely in English now. Most like folk instruments have been taken away, and it's all like universal, just synth pop shit that sounds like two fax machines fucking. So it's like that is like they're still slowly losing the battle, I think, which sucks. Like because once that like it turns into a monoculture, there's kind of no point of it anymore other than the competition and the money involved.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that which I understand. Like, it should be kind of a like, hey, let's showcase our, the things that come from our country. And now the only thing coming out of every country is McDonald's and hip hop pop wave and shit like that. Which, look, I'm 40, so obviously nobody should ever listen to my opinion on music ever in the world. Even when I was young and a little bit, cooler than I am now, I still listen to absolutely garbage music, so it's fine. I do again. I wish good luck to all the people in Europe and their visions, whatever they may be. Your vision to sing weird pop music on one of the biggest stages. Although I do, like you said, the exclusion of Americans is probably a good thing to do more often, because sometimes I like to keep up with like Japanese baseball, and people are like, oh, we should integrate Japanese baseball and American baseball. It's like, no, don't do that to the Japanese, man.
No, because Japanese baseball is so much fucking cooler.
Yeah,
than
don't
American
fucking ruin the
baseball
Japanese baseball like this.
Like, yeah, it's so much more entertaining. And like, meanwhile, like, American baseball is like trying its fucking hardest this season to like drain whatever last remaining fun might have happened out of the sport.
It is incredible. Baseball is the one sport that I still like kind of keep up with, because I enjoy it for what it is. I enjoy, the skill and I grew up with it, so it's whatever. But like, and I do like that there's a pitch counter and everything, but the fact that like, we pay for the Hulu and Disney Plus bundle, it comes with ESPN. And I was like, cool, I can watch baseball at work on my computer. Fucking no, you can't at all. No, nobody you want to see. Maybe you can watch some old games from last year, but you can't watch anything today. It's just a massive stranglehold on the ability to do anything, because they want to cram you into a stadium and give you COVID or something like that. I don't know. Look, again,
I mean, rather than being a bunch of old people yelling about the changing times, Francis, do you we have some news articles to talk about.
We do have some other thing. Look, I'm trying to stay away from that. I understand I'm old and irrelevant. It's fine. I'm leaning into it. I'm excited to be irrelevant because people will stop bothering me. Like, as soon as I got out of the 18 to 35 demographic, did life get a lot easier. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody caters to me anymore. I don't have to have all. But the problem is that people do cater to me, because everything is we're just recycling everything every 30 years. Because we have no.
Wait, is that? So wait, Francis, now that I just turned 36, like last month, like is this the golden age? Should I be excited for what comes next over the course of like the next
Carrie,
10
I will
years?
say that you and I do have the added advantage of being white guys. So in essence, our opinion always matters to somebody, but we're no longer part of that demographic that that you really want to grab onto. It's all the kids that you want to get. You don't want to get us, because I buy my pants from Costco now. Like, there is no level of drip or style that I have. There's nothing other than
Costco sells pants.
Honestly, even hear you say the word,
fucking they sell $17 cargo shorts, baby. I'm wearing a pair right now.
Even just hearing you say the word drip feels wrong somehow.
The fact that you're bragging about the price that you paid for your cargo shorts is making me physically cringe.
That's what you have to look forward to, bro. At a certain point, the only thing that you want is sensibly priced clothing that will last a long time. And
I'm
And you know what? You can't fucking find that anymore, okay? You know what? You want to do the old guy complaints about things. Why are things not as good as they used to be? Why have we allowed capitalism to take away? You know, I used
things
to
were
have
always
I used to
shit,
get
Francis.
Why can I not get a band T-shirt that lasts 20 years anymore? I used to be able to do that. Anyway.
Look, if I bought Costco cargo shorts and wore them to Armenia, they would strip my citizenship and deport me.
I can't wait. One of these days, I'm gonna finally come out there,
and rightfully so.
I'm gonna wear my fucking croc clogs. I'm gonna wear my cargo shorts from Costco. I'm gonna wear the red undershirt T-shirt that I bought at Bed Bath and Beyond when it was going out of business. I bought a 3-pack for like $5. I'm coming to Armenia. I'm gonna be the loud American asking where the McDonald's is.
This
For okay,
like
two
the bleakest
things.
thing I've ever heard anybody say.
We don't have a McDonald's, and two, I think like Daredevil dresses better than you do.
Look, I don't leave the house very often, so it is what it is. I work from home. I have a pod shack. Who do I need to?
I work from home. I don't leave that. The place I go every day is the gym
and the bar. You go play bar trivia. You go out to places. You meet people, though. You have a girlfriend. You have friends and stuff like that. I'm married. I stay at home.
Look, I meet people against my will.
See, and this is the thing. What you need to do is get into a comfortable place where you never have to leave. And then you're just like, why am I spending so much money on pants? I could just buy cargo shorts from Costco. I'll bring you some. Instead of smuggling in phones and iPhones to Armenia, I'll smuggle in cargo shorts from Costco so that I can finally free the legs of the Armenian people.
Of all the freedoms we need, I think that's the least of them.
But it's the one that I can offer. All right.
This is wwhy Al Qaeda did 9/11. They hated us specifically for the freedom of our cargo shorts.
Those two pantsless covered buildings, and they were like, those look like legs without pants on. Fuck them. I'm glad we can joke about a national tragedy now. Speaking of national tragedies, let's talk about Russia.
That joke went down faster than the Two Towers.
Yeah.
Look, just because we can make 9/11 jokes doesn't mean they're good.
No, they're never good. But somebody laughed at it, and then also somebody canceled their subscription. So it's a wash. If you laughed at that, you owe me $5. So anyway, Russia, Victory Day. Rather than Eurovision, let's talk about the real winners of Europe, the Soviets beating the Nazis with no help from anybody else whatsoever, right? Right. However, Russia's Victory Day parade, usually full resplendent with tanks and vehicles and fucking and
planes
driving
and like
giant
all sorts of
down
shit.
Main Street and saluting it for some reason. One of those things. I've always been a little kind of.
I cannot describe how big Victory Day is in this part of the world.
Okay, so
is there one in Yerevan too?
Well, yeah, we were in the Soviet Union. We don't like.
No, I'm just saying. I just like. I just don't know if they like do like a parade. I guess is like what I'm asking.
I mean, nothing like that. No, because like in different times, when Russia, well, they've always been invading former parts of their colonial empire, like Georgia in 2008. But like, generally speaking, like all of the heads of state will go to Moscow and stuff like that, and contingents of their armed forces will take part in the Victory Day parade.
Yeah, well, I know that like they this year like because I saw someone like going through the video, and I think they counted like a grand total of only like 51 vehicles or something like that, and like 8 of them were trucks that were borrowed from the Chechens.
Can't imagine what happened to all the other ones.
I don't know, because right. Well, that's what they were saying. It's like they couldn't even dig up what's the new tank, like the T-14.
I mean, new tank
like
insofar as it exists on paper. I mean, the last time they tried to trout one of those out, it fucking broke down. It had to be trailered away.
Yeah, at one of the other Victory Day parades.
The rest of them can now be found burning in the middle of a field somewhere.
Yeah, so the only thing that they managed to break out was a old T-34 tank who looked very sad out there by himself. But, look, celebration.
Also, that T-34 was built in Kyiv.
Celebration of dead Nazis, thumbs up no matter what. Fuck the Nazis. Glad the Soviets whacked them as well as everybody else. But it is getting like, I like the idea that like Russia had to come up, like the prevalent theory, and one that I'm going to go with because why not, is that the drone strike on the Kremlin a few weeks back meant that the Russian security forces needed to be a little bit stronger, and they couldn't put out as much stuff during the Victory Day parade because what if somebody tries to drone strike us again? Now, you might be thinking, when did
I mean, that is true. That's why nobody was allowed to attend.
right?
Like normally, like a ton of people like civilians attended, like thousands of them. This time, the only attendees were veterans.
Yeah, and the
because you can get drone striked as a veteran of the Ukraine war, and you just feel at home.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, a bomb hit blowing up nearby, and just like, oh, okay, that's fine. But yeah, Ukraine has completely said, like, we didn't try to do this. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And there are like separatists in Russia fighting against Putin, as I'm sure there always has been. Joe can fill you in much more on Russian history and everybody who hates Putin, which is everybody, kind of figure. But it is, Victory Day finally comes around, and one of the theories is that Russia drone striked itself so it could have an excuse to not put out a whole bunch of stuff, rather than being like, sorry, most of our tanks are having their lids popped over in Ukraine in the turret hurling contest that is Bakhmut.
I mean, like, without like delving too far into the weeds of conspiracy theory, one, I don't think that they drone strike themselves, because it makes them look really bad to allow a drone to penetrate all the way to fucking Moscow.
Yeah, that's not good.
But it also wouldn't be the first time that like the FSB, was comfortable blowing themselves up to start some shit. Like
FSB.
That is how it is pronounced. Yes.
Was it that the? Yeah, I know. I'm just like really, I'm really sad that never came out when that one woman was exposed for leading all the guys in the NRA around by their
what I
dicks,
need now though is a anime girl in Russian uniform, and it says FSB on it.
I mean, you can just Google.
I'm sure that already exists somewhere on Reddit.
100%.
Yeah.
But like, they're not necessarily 100% connected to the apartment bombings that started the Second Chechen War, but there is a lot of questions around those. But like, yeah, like, is it out of the scope of imagination to think that would have happened? No. Does it make sense? Also, no. I don't think, like, especially because I also don't believe that Ukraine didn't. If the Ukrainian security services were connected to the bombing of the Kremlin, which I absolutely do think they were, says that they didn't time that to disrupt Victory Day is a complete fucking lie. Everybody knows what Victory Day is, and of course they would attempt to it's a massive propaganda coup. Even if the bombing did literally no damage other than fuck up a flag, that's a huge holiday, fucking massive. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that they would attempt to disrupt it, just so. I see a lot of things. People like, oh, if you're a normal Russian in Moscow or St. Petersburg or wherever, you don't feel that the war is happening. That is not true either. Hence why tens of thousands of them have fucking moved here. But yeah, it's a propaganda victory. It's the same reason why, virtually the same day, they rocketed the living shit out of Kyiv. That's what it's about. It's what they're doing. And as far as not having tanks and stuff like that to do the Victory Day parade, yeah, of course not. They're anybody who says that they're only using a fraction of their military strength to get ethered by some guy named Yuri with a javelin is fucking lying. Yeah. They're absolutely hemorrhaging.
I saw some weird Russian apologist account, basically talking about I don't know, what is it, the the Su-35 or I don't know whatever their like latest like fighter jet is, and it was like, and someone's like, oh, you only have like 10 of them. He's like, that's just the ones they let you see, and it's
and
like,
they've flown approximately
like,
zero
fucking,
missions over Ukraine for a reason, just like the fabled T-14 tank, which they will not deploy because it doesn't fucking work.
Yeah,
like I'm sorry, but nobody's sending
nobody's
sending in legions
guys.
of T-72s if they have something better. Like the like in like another year of grinding a whole bunch of fucking convicts who've been press ganged into mercenary outfits, that T-34 will be sent to be destroyed outside of Bakhmut.
Hey, we've already seen some of the T-55s come out. The People's Tank is making an appearance again.
I'm just like envisioning because I like all the VFWs or whatever else in the United States, that have like old artillery pieces or tanks or half tracks or whatever else in front of them. I'm just imagining the same in Russia, just like, pulling like, hooking up a trailer to like an old howitzer in the middle of the night and pulling that shit away like it's a fucking
they were already using shit that was decades old when this shit started. So like I don't know how much far back they have to go to before they're like, I don't know. Where's that fucking cast iron cannon from the Battle of Borodino that we could fucking roll out here?
They're gonna have to call Nicolas Cage and That's why they're making a Lord of War sequel. Nicolas Cage has to help arm the Russian military with their own shit again.
Dude, it's perfectly timed because the guy that they based Lord of War on, Victor Boot, was freed from prison, so they have to make a sequel now.
He's back and he's selling guns back to the Russians now.
As soon as Victor Boot got released, he joined like the most far right Russian political party as well, and started yelling about there's too many genders in American federal prison. Like that's not even a fucking bit. He actually did that.
I mean, when you get out of prison as a gun runner, I don't imagine you're going to come out and be like, you know what, trans lives matter. Would you like to buy an AK-47 or 400?
Yeah, this former colonel, I believe, in the Red Air Force. Maybe he was Army. I don't think he's going to be the most progressive dude.
I mean, if in fairness, if anyone ever were to identify as an attack helicopter, it'd probably be him.
Not to mention Soviet culture was very, very like regressive, and Russian society and culture is significantly worse, especially the last couple of years. He knows what he's doing, man. He's a pro.
We've got all those cool videos of Russian soldiers jumping through fire hoops and doing backflips while throwing axes, and I've been told that that's going to crush our they/them army.
That's working out great.
Not the fact that we can push a button in an Abrams tank and blow up seven T-72s.
That reminds me, like that fucking idiot. She's a Kadyrovsky on Twitter, like a big supporter of Ramzan Kadyrov and Vladimir Putin. I think his name's like Samara Khan. She used to work for RT, but got fired because she was too extreme for RT, which is an achievement. To be fair, she probably wouldn't be fired now. Like she posted a picture of like it was like a pride parade. It was like a pink. It was like a piece of self-propelled howitzer that's painted pink. And she was like, this is the difference between the Russian, the strong Russian armed forces and the they/then army of NATO. I'm like, yeah, you can tell the difference because it has fuel and it's driving.
It's not currently on fire.
Yeah, it's not. It didn't get murked by someone that was a university student last year.
Yeah, it's right across a field in a 200-meter pattern. So, fuck Russia, as always. I don't think if you have been listening to the show and you've been wondering, we don't like Russia in any of its permutations, really. Politically, mostly. I'm sure that there's some Russian people who are fine. All the kids that go run around and climb up number station towers and hang off of them and then post the videos to YouTube. I like those kids.
You don't see those videos anymore because they all got mobilized. Yeah. And then they came here, Georgia. It was very fun. I don't think I told this story. I was in Georgia not that long ago. My friend and I, we went to a bar club thing. And, I don't speak Georgian. My Armenian isn't great. And I don't speak Russian. So like I walked, and a lot of people in Tbilisi don't speak English either. But we walked up and there's this woman, I don't know how to explain it, but you could just tell from looking at her that she was Russian. Russians dress a certain kind of way that when you see them, like Russian.
She has that Russian brain pan.
Well, it's kind of
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Americans,
Russians
like,
are the
generally
Americans
do,
of
you know?
Europe, which is why America and Russia hate one another so much.
Because we see too much of ourselves in one another.
I mean, that's just true.
Yeah.
That's like just a fact. But like she was trying to speak English to this bouncer that was out front, and like in English, and her English was not very good. And he knew from because he also spoke a little bit of English. And he could tell from her English she was definitely Russian and just didn't want to speak Russian in Georgia. Because in case people are not aware, for one, go listen to the Lines Led by Donkeys podcast. He did a whole series as to why Georgians don't like Russians. But and since they could just drive into Georgia after the mass mobilization started, they just got flooded with Russians, and Georgians already didn't like Russians, and the Russians going there are extremely insensitive as to why Georgians aren't a huge fan of their country.
You guys aren't a big fan of me coming here to avoid us invading another country after we just kind of invaded you. I get it.
And the bouncer was like, "Well, I need to see your passport." And she's like, "Well, I don't have it on me." And then she came and asked my friend who speaks Russian and spoke to her in Russian. Like, "Could you just tell them I need to use the bathroom?" Like, no, you don't. And finally, she left. Like, and like the bouncer took one look at me. He's like, "Nah, you're good." And I get a stamp on my hand, and it says in Russian, "Fuck Putin." Like that is the entry stamp to get in. And the owner of that bar was actually interviewed by this like Russian hack journalist about like why he doesn't let Russians into the bar. He's like, "No, I'll let Russians in, but they better like also have citizenship somewhere else, so you're not someone who just came over to escape mobilization, you know." Which is, hey, it's his bar. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
This is Georgia, and we got rights here, and that means go fuck.
I know that I just know that kind of thing would never happen in Armenia, even though Armenians are getting kind of sick of all the Russians as well. They're like overwhelmingly a very welcoming kind of people. Georgians are a different kind of people altogether. I mean, I love Georgia. I had a great time in Georgia. Yeah, they can be much different in that regard.
Well, let's go ahead and change gears one more time. We have something finally from America. I guess we should talk about America a little bit on this. It has been in the news for over a year at this point, but finally, the DoD has started to change the names of some of the military bases that were named after Confederates for some reason, and are now naming them after American, Union American, not traitors, basically.
Yeah, actual American veterans, because the Confederates are not American veterans, because they swore allegiance to a country that attempted to exist and then died so soon that Cowboy Bebop is a bigger part of American culture.
Yeah, keep in mind to all of the Confederate lovers out there that the Taliban has more legitimacy than the Confederate States of America ever
The
did.
first version of the Taliban government had more legitimacy because they were actually recognized by another nation.
North Korea, but still it was another nation.
I mean, I think even like Moldova has like a better claim of legitimacy.
Moldova is a social experiment.
So let's go through some of this. So we got 9 bases that were renamed. Fort Benning is now going to be Fort Moore, named after Lieutenant General Hal Moore. Fort Bragg went to Fort Liberty.
From We Came as Soldiers fame, Hal Moore?
Yeah.
The guy who was so dumb he got like stolen valored by his own sergeant major and went to his grave defending him despite the evidence that showed that he was lying about his entire career. That Hal Moore.
Hey, you know what? He was an American though. So
yeah, fair enough. He wasn't a Confederate. I'll give him that much.
Baby steps, man. Baby fucking steps.
Yeah.
Fort Bragg went with going by calling it Fort Liberty now. I assume
that's so fucking stupid,
it's
man.
A cop
like
out.
there's so many like legitimate, like if they want to like put paper over some of the wounds of naming military bases after Confederates, like there is so many like veterans from like various different like ethnic religious backgrounds that are still not representative,
Fucking
like
Roy
legitimate goddamn Terminator superhero ass veterans.
Yeah, Roy Benavidez.
The fact that Fort Hood was not changed to Fort Benavidez when Benavidez is from fucking Texas is absurd. It is absolute fucking crime. I cannot believe they did not do that. Benavidez is like, I mean, he had some, weird shit political wise later in his life, but like, of course he did. He was an old Vietnam vet who got like bayoneted in the fucking skull. Yeah. But like,
that dude was told he would never walk again, and then not only began walking again, but was like, "Fuck it, I'm going back to Vietnam for more." And then got
that they thought he was dead when they found him, and like he spit in the doctor's face is when they like, oh, I should treat this guy because he had been wounded more times than fucking anybody ever.
He wrote a book, and it's the one special forces book that I would say that you should read, just because there's a lot of bullshit that you'll hear from special forces guys today, the McHuyas, the lone survivor, all that stuff. But Benavidez, like, his shit is just like, look, I came from nothing. The Army gave me an opportunity. The Army nearly killed me multiple times, but it didn't. So fuck you all. I'm fucking Benavidez.
And not to mention that entire generation of like Green Berets would absolutely not really recognize what the Special Forces community turned into. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, even when you like look at the way. Like I've been rewatching like all the, like a bunch of like old like fucking action movies and other shit. Even like you look at the way that they were portrayed, like really up until like, 9/11 and like the global war on terror. And it's just like, guys like fucking Jesse the Body Ventura dressed up in like, black pajamas wandering around with an Uzi. Is kind of, and then like, and then the Vietnam War, like all the Maxov guys and whatever else, like just like an entirely different thing. And they're always just kind of like some guy. Versus, a bunch of dudes named, Kevin with like big old fucking operator beards who primarily specialize in like blowing rails of cocaine.
Yeah, and this isn't to defend any of America's wars or anything stupid like that. Like someone's going to accuse us of doing. They're military bases. They're going to be renamed after military things. You might as well name them after people of note, not Fort Liberty. Is Fort Liberty named after like a blonde Mormon girl in high school or something? Like,
it's the American value of liberty, is what the DoD says.
Oh, suck my dick! That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Well, now we got to go back and change all of our Fort Bragg Murder Swamp episodes to Fort Liberty Murder Swamp. So thanks, Army.
They should just rename Fort Hood to like Fort Tragedy because that's the only thing that place embodies.
And again, another place that like Fort Bragg is full of special forces. There's plenty of special forces guys that you could name. I am kind of salty that Benavidez didn't get anything because
he's a fucking shoo-in, man. He's especially for Fort Hood. Like it is absolutely, and if I remember correctly, it's a station at Fort Hood for a really long time, but that was a long time ago. I believe there's a range there named after Rory Benavidez.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like his name is all over that fucking place because, again, that's where he's from. Instead, they're just going to tack on some fucking asshole that's from somewhere else or a vague concept of liberty.
Let's see. So,
okay, like, man, where are you stationed? Oh, I'm stationed at Fort Existential Dread. Oh, Alaska.
Yeah, no, I'm stationed at Fort Frozen Dick.
Fort Hood got named after General Richard E. Cavazos. I don't know anything about him.
See, the problem is the reason why Benavidez didn't get us because he's fucking enlisted.
There's enlisted people though. Fort Polk got named after a sergeant. Fort Pickett is named after a tech sergeant. And
it is very funny there was a Fort Pickett because I didn't even know there was a Fort Pickett. How the fuck are you going to name a fort after the most famous failure of the Civil War? And after the Confederate?
Where the fuck even it? What?
Virginia.
Where is Fort Pickett? Huh. I mean, I suppose you would have to.
It's a small base. It's in Blackstone. It's a very small training base. So
there's a lot of those small little bases I kind of never heard of before.
Yeah, there's Aberdeen,
especially in like the Eastern Seaboard is full of those.
Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Fort Meade, all kinds of.
Yeah, I mean, we have in the one like remaining Army base in Massachusetts is Fort Devon.
Famously named after Devon.
Devon. He was a cook. We liked him.
It was going to be Fort Sean, but they couldn't decide which one. If it was going to be Sean F, Sean M, or Sean
we
E.
We should start a petition to get a fort named after like I don't know, like the worst soldier in the army. Like I don't know. Was it the
I was gonna say,
hell
Fort
yeah.
Kasabian.
yeah,
that would be my eternal punishment, is somehow like one of my books makes me like Stephen King level of famous, and they rename Fort Hood after me, the place that sucked so bad it convinced me to get the fuck out of the army.
there was one time I was at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, which is a reserve training base, and we were going through not even the main gate, but like the side entry control point that like all the military trucks and shit go into, so that Humvees and LMTVs aren't driving on the main drag. But it was named after a PFC that like died in Iraq, and all I could think is like I like had to tell my wife immediately is like, if I die, do not ever let the government name something after me, because if my name got stuck on the side entrance to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, and that's just how I'm commemorated, I will come down there and commit suicide somehow.
Well, I mean, that's like the greatest fucking, like, the grimmest, darkest timeline irony is the woman who was murdered at Fort Hood, and then CID completely botched the investigation, has a gate named after her at Fort Hood. Like, or sorry, Fort Cavazos now. Yeah. But like, I mean, we used to make jokes when I was deployed, like, if I die, they're going to name the fucking, like, the porter potty is like the Joseph J. Kasabian Memorial Porter Shitter. So everybody can, think about me when they're rubbing one out.
I do that already.
The elementary school that I helped get named after my friend who died in Iraq is going to open soon, and I still consider that one of my finest jokes on him in the afterlife, because we only met and became friends because we were both like terrible students who would sit in the back all the time.
As is tradition.
They named
after him. I mean, if you get a building named after you in the military, you're legally allowed, per ghost law. Carrie, please check me on that. You're allowed to haunt it forever. Yeah.
Look,
oh yeah, no, 100%.
I do not want my eternal spirit spending its entire time fucking with privates and like, I don't want to get black lung myself.
You'll just be sweeping the motor pool for all eternity.
Right. So another one, Fort Greg Adams.
Pulling eternal CQ.
Fort Lee has been named after Lieutenant General Arthur Gregg and Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams, but Arthur Gregg is still alive.
Where are you stationed? Fort Gregg. Oh, it was like,
look, they fucked this up.
Yeah, it was like,
this up. Fort Lee should have absolutely been renamed Fort Grant, despite the fact that I know there already is one, probably.
Is there?
I know he was a president, but like, the only thing anybody remembers him for now is that he crushed the fucking South, and the fact that
because he was from Illinois originally, wasn't he?
If there's not one, and they renamed Fort Lee to literally anything else, like, that is a fucking tragedy, because
there's not a Fort Grant. Fort Grant.
That's the ultimate middle finger to like the naming bases after Confederates is like, okay, we're going to name one at Atlanta, Fort William Tecumseh Sherman, despite the fact he's a fucking like, he's a terrible person, like a genocider and a monster, but like, fuck you. And then Fort Lee absolutely should have been turned into Fort Grant as an extra fuck you, because like, it's in Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be, like a really fitting one alongside, Arlington Cemetery being on his front lawn. Just like
what are the angry neo-Confederates going to do? Fucking, like, mount a cavalry charge on their hover-around scooters? Fuck them.
Yeah, and
rest in piss, you rebel bitches. Fuck you.
And also the argument...
one of the only good things America ever did was murder the Confederacy.
Also, you can't use the excuse of like, well, it's destroying history. Like, we're still talking about Civil War history. We're just talking about the winners this time.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, like, as a historian, there's absolutely a place and a time to discuss the dark aspects of history. One of the ways you do that is not by naming a goddamn fort after it. Like, that's like, oh man, I really learned a lot about World War II as I report to Fort Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, or all the Adolf Hitler and Eichmann statues that are just dotted around America. That's where I learned.
I love going to my local park and having coffee below the statue of Martin Bormann.
Man, I was I had never really experienced that shit until the first time. I think it was like 2008 or something that I went to Richmond, and like I took the fucking Greyhound bus down there to go to a fucking punk festival. and just walking down, I think it's literally Monuments Boulevard in Richmond, and there's just like statue after statue of every single fucking Confederate general, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, like some real sore loser shit, huh? Like this is just, you're really fucking double down on this one in the 20s.
We should donate the Confederate statues to Ukraine as well, so they can drop them on Russian trenches.
Just instead of sending howitzers, we got to send them at least 10 trebuchets so they can just hurl statues at Russian lines.
Hurl statues of Robert E. Lee.
just increasingly Baroque systems of combat.
Dimitri, what the fuck is that flying through the air? Sir, I believe it's a statue of a big fat asshole loser. Splat.
I don't even pack it full of explosives. I just want it to just a loud thud as like this.
No, absolutely do not pack it full of explosives. They need to just like stick into the earth like a fucking Easter Island head.
I'm just like thinking about, Joe, like every episode of like your show that you ever describe someone just like catching a cannonball like straight to the fucking dome or something, and just out of goddamn nowhere, like getting decapitated by just like not even like an exploding like actual cannonball, but just like literally just
getting
a piece of shot
connected to God's Wi-Fi because someone launched a statue of Robert E. Lee at you.
And
that's some shit you'd haunt a motherfucker about.
I don't know
like,
if we want to start
damn
giving like Lee more body counts. Like, even in death,
it's fine. He's used to losing. He'll fit right in with the Russian military.
The Russians would probably take them back and install them all over Red Square, and that's fine. You guys can have them. We'll hurl them at.
He looks kind of like Lenin if you squint hard. We also had to take down all of our statues of Lenin for Victory Day Parade because they were also mobilized.
Yeah, eventually
we've replaced them with this asshole from Virginia that was donated to us by the unfolds piece of paper. U.S. government. Oh man, we've been owned.
Yeah, eventually the Russians are gonna, after the T-34 from the Victory Day Parade gets turret tossed, they're going to have to start taking their statues and hurling them at Ukrainian lines.
Attaching a fucking rocket engine to Lenin's embalmed corpse.
All right.
Honestly, that is what it should. That is a great way to dispose of your trash.
Fuck that! I want that to do that with my body. Pack me full of explosives and put a rocket on me and hurl me towards whoever my enemy is. Like that'd be.
I fully agree with the Spaceman Viking funeral. As a sci-fi author, I demand one when I die.
Yeah. The cremation of Hunter S. Thompson and shooting him out of a cannon was only the beginning.
Giant peyote butt.
Yeah, we need something that can actually like achieve orbits and then burn back in. I want to be basically an ICBM. Put a small nuke inside of my chest cavity. I've watched movies. Somebody can do that and hurl me towards, I don't know, just any part of Russia will be fine. Nice.
Hey, now that Armenia has a space program, I feel like I can pay someone to fire me into orbit when I die.
just for like a certain provision of like tracksuits or something. I mean, every time, Bezos or Musk or like one of those assholes goes into orbit, I mean, that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. Like, I just want to see a supernova.
God,
and
I've
watch
seen what you did to the Columbia. I want that for them.
What if you did it, God? What if you did it to people that deserved it? What if you did it?
Yeah. I don't want it to be like a school teacher from New Hampshire. I want it to be a fucking, billionaire douchebag who's like actively making the lives of everyone around the world.
What if you can make this incredibly funny?
My favorite part of the stupid Jeff Bezos space thing was he took William Shatner with him, and like reflecting on going into space, William Shatner was just like deeply depressed.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's dark.
Oh yeah, no, he's like had an existential crisis
and then,
since then.
There's this picture of him being sad next to Bezos, like opening champagne and stuff.
Yeah, you like realize like truly how small humans are in the grand scheme of things, and it's like just been this like absolute shell of a man since that happened. He was like, I think he even gave an interview. He was like, yeah, I thought this was going to be the greatest thing of my life, and like now all I can think is that
this
like,
is why I'm
matters.
waiting as a sci-fi guy for it to happen after I'm dead, because I can't be more disappointed than dying under whatever stupid fucking circumstances is finally going to claim my life.
Acute podcasting disease. You're gonna get you. What's gonna happen is
That's called suicide.
you and Tom are going to lock yourselves into a content mine, and you're gonna die of deep vein thrombosis because you don't stand up for 7 hours.
Look, that's why I'm glad that I'm a physically active person, because if I don't like go to the gym, I truly would probably work all day. So like I have to get up and walk through my city to go to the gym. Otherwise, I feel like I would have fused to my chair like some kind of internet centaur.
Just the podcast encrypted.
Just instead of hearing growls in the dark, you just in the distance, you're like, "Hey, everybody, Joe here." Just slowly getting louder and louder as it gets closer.
That's what happens if you if you get haunted by me as a poltergeist. The only thing that happens is your voice gets progressively more burnt out, and hair starts to grow from your shoulders.
You get sadder, and it feels like you smoked a pack of cigarettes.
Hey, fuck you! I haven't had a cigarette like a week.
Good for you, Joe. I'm glad. I'm happy that you're getting out of whatever cigarette smoking depression you were in. Congratulations.
It's just called assimilation, my man. I believe in assimilating into the country that I immigrated to.
Do they not smoke in Armenia?
Oh God, everybody fucking smokes. It's everywhere.
Oh, so
and like I had quit smoking for over a decade before I moved here, and then I picked it up within like a month.
Yeah.
Just because, like, you know, it's hard. It's like it's legitimately hard to be a smoker in the United States. You can't smoke inside anywhere. Cigarettes are very expensive. It's socially unacceptable generally. Like if you're the weird smoker in every group, because like not every group smokes. Here, if I hang out with my friends, everyone fucking smokes. Cigarettes are $1. Like, up until this time last year, you could smoke inside, and a lot of bars just ignore the law because the cops don't fucking do anything. Which I should be clear here. The amount of police work that the Armenian police do is the amount of police work I want police to do, which is nothing. But yeah,
I mean, all I'm hearing from this is essentially Armenia is just one big Reno.
Yeah, we have casinos too, I guess. No, I've been to Reno. Reno fucking sucks. That's insulting. Yerevan's actually a nice place. And it's, you know, not full of tweakers who are going to steal your hubcaps or whatever.
All right.
Yeah, catalytic
gentlemen,
ahead of the curve. Most cars here don't even have one.
Catalytic converters are what get stolen the most around here. I guess.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that was still a thing, but my stepdad had his catalytic converter stolen out of his car at work. And he it was when I was home. I was in Michigan for like a week about a month ago, and his car, you know, rolls up to my mom's house where I was staying, and I can hear it coming. And I'm like, man, your car sounds like fucking shit. What happened? He's like, I think someone stole my goddamn catalytic converter again. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean again?
Yeah, they pulled all the copper out of all the walls, man. They got to go for something else now.
Yeah, soon they're going to be pulling the copper out of my bones.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Why don't you go ahead and plug your shows?
I am the host of the Lines Led by Donkeys podcast. If you'd like a semi-structured show about history, you can listen to my show. Francis and Shocks are often on it. It's also with Nate, who's obviously on this show most of the time, and our long-suffering producer, Tom.
He's not long-suffering. He's only been around for 6 months.
That is long-suffering to deal with us.
And hopefully in the future, I actually just ordered a book, and I have something terrible that I'm going to torture Tom with myself soon. But, you know, 33rd County is still a thing now that I've moved to the southern Massachusetts.
Florida?
Lesser Massachusetts.
And the Rhode Island County of Massachusetts. But hopefully we're going to record another few episodes here sometime soon, particularly where, thankfully, my fucking grad school classes have ended this week. You know, as it turns out, lawyering and grad school and moving don't leave a lot of time for podcasting, which is truly
I
a
agree.
shame.
As someone who podcasted through my entire grad degree, I am happy it is over.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, who knew? Apparently going to grad school for the second time because I'm a fucking masochist was a bad idea. But on the other hand, at least, you know, the federal government is continuing to pay me. And if there's one thing that I think we can all agree to endorse on this podcast. Soak fucking Uncle Sam for all the veteran benefits.
You're goddamn right, baby. I don't even live in that fucking country anymore, and I still do.
Get that bag, y'all. I have a bachelor's degree from a college that no longer exists, so I'm probably the happiest among all of us. Guys, thank you so much, and everybody, we'll talk to you next week. Zoom, 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 zoom.